across from Ibiza was in moderate to light sea conditions and went without any trouble. When we arrived, we dropped anchor in a small bay with the large and imposing rock that was on the end of the peninsula. We were now on the last stage of the Mediterranean and only had a week or so before we would arrive in Gibraltar. With flat seas and sunshine, Kathy was feeling better, knowing that there were no more long days crossing open sea.
Well, here we are, leaving a town called Culp. We use Culp as the port to stay in overnight from the trip from Ibiza, and nice and sheltered right beneath the rock there, as you can see in the centre picture. And had a good night's rest after almost a 12-hour journey, just 20 minutes short of 12 hours. So we've got a lovely sunny day, and just following the coast down now, coast of Spain. Quite populated, and a sunny day, but it is cool, so we've dressed appropriately for it. And we've got our washing drying. Kath relaxed. So we're heading for a town called Alicante. As you can see, we've got the bimini back. This is to enable us to watch the sails a little bit more closely with the changeable winds, but I don't think it'll be too bad today. So we've got the main reefed to the second reef, or double reefed, and the Genoa out full.
We left Culp with the intention to stop at an anchorage in the small port of Alicante, some 75 kilometres sailing from Culp. But as we arrived, we decided to push on to Santa Pola, which was only another 18 kilometres further, where the anchoring would be better. This time dropping the anchor outside the seawall on the eastern side. We hope to get a good night's sleep. The next morning we headed to Cartagena, 102 kilometres sailing distance. This industrial port had a large military base at the top of the bay that was off limits to any shipping. On entering the bay, we first looked at the northern bays, but they were not suitable, so headed over to the eastern side. Kathy and I found a small bay relatively sheltered with high hills that surrounded us to the north and west. The night was filled with the sounds of a busy and noisy container port with bangs and clatters that carried across the waters of the bay most of the night. We departed Cartagena late the next day and had decided to only do a short distance for the day to Marazon, a distance of 28 kilometres. We dropped anchor behind a small island close to the mainland for the night. This proved to be a good anchorage as we both slept very well. The next day we made an earlier start for Aguilas, another short distance of less than 35 kilometres, and had an uncomfortable night there due to the swell that entered the bay and rocked us all night. After 2 short hops, we planned on a longer trip the next day and headed to Almeria, 136 kilometres, arriving at 5:30 in the evening. And that was another anchorage that offered little protection from the swell. We sat and ate our evening meal after the long trip of the day, then both agreed there was little point in staying when it was very obvious to us both that we would get little to no sleep due to the constant heavy swell. After clearing the dishes, we raised the anchor and then sailed all through the night heading for Malaga.
On the last leg of the trip to Gibraltar, well, second to last actually, we're heading for Malaga, and that's how you pronounce it. We've been sailing all night. The sun's just coming up. Quite cold. We've been sleeping on deck in turns. Kat's done her watch on. I've been doing mine for the last few hours. And Gibraltar tomorrow. But, nice day, by the looks of it. And Kat's sleeping under a blanket there. And Malaga is, however it's pronounced, is up this direction here. And a little bit of cloud, but it should still be a nice day. And motor sailing because there's not enough wind, and you can see the details there. And only 7.1 knots, although it's just starting to freshen. It may mean that we'll get a bit more speed.
As soon as I bring the camera out, I lose them. Wow.
The port of Malaga lay just 107 kilometres northeast of Gibraltar. We dropped anchor at 2:25 in the shelter of the seawall that consisted of large concrete blocks. Both Kathy and I were quite weary after such a long sailing of nearly 18 hours, so dozed in our cabins until early evening.
Pretty fast now, aren't we?
Yeah, going close to 8.
Oh, okay. Let me know when you get to 10 again.
You'll know because you'll feel it. Yes, that sweet surge.
Well, we're nearly at the end of the Mediterranean part of this adventure. Out there you can see Morocco, and obviously it's connected to the African continent, which goes for thousands of miles in that direction. On the right side there is Spain, which we've been sailing down for the last 4 or 5 days. In front of us is the Rock of Gibraltar. Soon we'll pass by the rock and turn right and enter in the bay, and that's where this part of the adventure ends.
The rock, as it's commonly called, would be seen from a long way out in the gin-clear afternoon. I had underestimated the time it would take to round the peninsula and into the harbour, but we had to slow down to navigate around other ships entering and departing the port. Kathy had been taking photos of the rock at different spots for our records. It was an impressive sight to see. We rounded the peninsula and motored up the harbour towards the marina that was in the Spanish part of the port. We tied up at 6 p.m just in time to see the sunset, which cast a red tinge on the top of the rock. We had a week in Gibraltar and went over to the English side, crossing the runway as that was the only way to get across. We had a very genuine English pub lunch on one of those visits. We also met up with Peter, who owned a 50-foot Barbarian yacht in the berth opposite to us. We wandered through the London-style streets together for a while. Kathy and I went to meet Rob and Laura, who were arriving at the airport to rejoin Orca for the Atlantic crossing. I had ordered an AIS unit to enable us to see other boats, somewhat like a radar. Rob had picked up the units from the store in England where I had purchased them from. It took me 2 days to install this complicated device. Soon it came time for Kathy to leave us, and so I went to see her off at La Linea Airport. I would not see her again until the Caribbean. She would spend some time in London with our niece before heading to Dubai for Christmas.